Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Wednesday, January the 18th, 2023. We're looking at the whole theme of temptation this week based on our gospel reading on Sunday about the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness. One of the things that we all recognize is that we all face temptation, and that's part of the reason why Jesus did as well, so that he could continue what began in his baptism to so identify with us, so as to be our great high priest, as that passage in Hebrews says, that to be tempted just as we are. Some years ago, the Douglas Aircraft Company was competing with Boeing to sell Eastern Airlines its first big jets, so that's going back a little bit. The war hero from the First World War, the flying ace Eddie Rickenbacker, at that time was the head of Eastern Airlines, and he reportedly told Donald Douglas, the CEO of Douglas Aircraft, that the specifications and claims made by Douglas's company for the DC-8 were very close to Boeing's on everything except noise suppression. Rickenbacker then gave Douglas one last chance to outpromise Boeing on this particular feature. And after consulting with his engineers, Douglas reported that he didn't feel that he could make that promise. And Rickenbacker replied, "I know you can't. I just wanted to see if you were still honest." The truth is, again, that temptation is a part of everyday life, even for Christians. As we saw in that gospel reading, Christ himself was not exempt, neither are we. We will be tempted and always be tempted. It depends on how we respond, in fact, how we resist those temptations. Pope Francis, at a Mass in Santa Marta in February of 2017, said this: "We all know what temptations are. We all know because we all have them. Many temptations of vanity, of arrogance, of greed, of avarice, so many." Jim George, in his book God's Man of Influence, talks about trying to sell a used boat trailer in the middle of winter. It was hardly 30 degrees outside. No one was boating, obviously. And then a potential buyer contacted George. The buyer was even willing to pay George's asking price, but there was only one catch. The buyer wanted George to put only half the price of the trailer on the bill of sale. "That's the way we do it in these parts," the buyer explained. That way he would only have to pay half the state sales tax, which amounted to several $100s. George said, "My first thought was I really want to sell that trailer. And if I say no, he might back out, and I might not find anybody else who will pay my asking price. But if I agree, I'll be lying, not to mention breaking the law. But who would know?" George said. "I knew what I should do, but still I was having this inner struggle." Well, he told the buyer that he was a Christian and he couldn't do anything illegal. The man went ahead and bought the trailer anyway, and George declared the full amount on the bill of sale, but he was prepared to lose that sale in order to be obedient. St. Augustine once said, "The desire for fame tempts even noble minds." Again, this idea that temptation is something that we all face. A man in a respectable, responsible position, entrusted with large sums of money, was one day tempted to put some of the cash into his own account. He knew that it'd be a long time before the theft would ever be discovered, but he resisted the temptation and felt that he should tell somebody the anguish of mind through which he had passed. So he went, therefore, to the man who had occupied the position before him and told him all about the temptation, how he had almost fallen. And to his surprise, the man did not criticize him, but put his hand on his shoulder in a fatherly sort of way. "I know exactly how you felt," he said quietly. "I went through it all myself when I occupied your position." Again, temptation comes to us all, whether we're in the pew or even in the pulpit. It can be pride in our Christian service or whatever form it takes, even perhaps or especially in preaching. A well-known evangelist a few years ago descended a pulpit and responded to the admiring comments of "Great sermon" by asking, "Yes, I know. Satan already told me." Temptation. We all face it. We all have an opportunity, of course, in terms of how we respond, to resist it. Well, that's the thought for today. We'll continue with this theme of temptation tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye.